Hi everyone, welcome to our second training webinar of the series. Hope you're all keeping really well. We're just going to we're going to do some filler for about a minute just while everyone logs on so that we can make sure we've got everyone on for the beginning of the training session with Arwen. So just a reminder of the agenda of today's session. Obviously, most of you know Arwen from training days or onboard training. Say hi, Arwen.
Hi everyone. Happy Valentine's Day.
Yeah, happy
I'm wearing red, Lauren, you're
Valentine's
not.
Day. She did promise a red top, and here she is. Oh, Kim's already on. Hi, Kim. You okay? So yeah, we've already had a few questions through for this one on email. So if you've not had a chance to send those to me, please just do drop them in the comments, and we will answer as many as we can at the end. If there's any we can't get round to, we'll just reply on the comments. But we're hoping to get through as much as we can. It's quite a long session today. It's quite a decent amount of information. So I hope you've all got your coffee, maybe a glass of water. Feel free to follow along as we go in your own system. But yeah, it's looking like we've got a few people on now, so that's good. Brilliant. Okay, Arwen, I'm going to hand over to you, I think. Let's get going. So if you could share your screen.
Of course.
Okay.
So as Lauren mentioned, I'm Arwen, and today I'm going to be walking you through the orders and supplier product list area in Business Pilot. So without further ado, let's dive in. So I firstly want to talk to you about the benefits of putting in your POs and your supplier product list. So before we dive into the system fully, I wanted to highlight why I believe that inputting your purchase orders into Business Pilot, in my opinion, is one of the most valuable features that we have available. Firstly, I believe that this improves your contract management. So due to you being able to create provisional order lists that do stay visible throughout that contract management process, this means that if you need to hold off on ordering certain items, such as glass, then these are going to remain in that list until you can action them. Now, this is also going to improve your cost tracking. So whether you're using a supplier quote or an estimated figure when you're first inputting that PO, the system is going to flag up any differences when you receive the final price. So whether this is at confirmation stage or invoice stage, this is going to help you stay on top of any of those unexpected costs. And overall, this is going to help you have a much more seamless ordering process. In total, it's going to have your order statuses displayed as codes on the schedule board, and that's going to make it easy to track everything at a glance. So ultimately, this feature is going to help you track both live and provisional orders in real time, and it also ensures that your predicted totals are going to align with your final priced orders as well. So it's a great feature to be using. So one quick note from me before we start, before you can create any purchase orders or supplier product lists, you will need to have your suppliers set up as contacts. So in order to do this, you can go and create a new contact, and you will see in the drop-down option for contact type that you can select supplier. So it's always good to ensure that you've got them all set up and ready to use. So I thought a good place to start today would be setting up my supplier product list. Now this is a newer feature, so if you have used the purchase orders area before, then you might not be aware of it yet. To access it, we do need to head to our admin menu. So to do that, I'm going to open up my main menu and head down to admin. Now from within here, under contracts and products, then you'll see we have supplier products lists. Okay, and here you can see that I already have a few suppliers in my system, but today I'm going to look in to add some new ones. Now, before I do, I thought it would be a good idea to take a look at some of my previously input items. For those of you today that might be looking for a little bit of inspiration on what might be useful to include, then you'll see that I've added a mixture here of standard PVC, flush windows, and even different types of collections. Such as in my composite door collection, I have options in here. Now this is going to help keep things really organised, and it ensures that I can quickly pull up the right product when I need to. Now let's go ahead and add in a few more items. So to do that, I'm going to click on Add Supplier Product. Then from here in the drop down, I'm going to select the supplier that I want. Then I can begin to input my product item in here. So I'm going to put my product line in. And you'll note on this one that I've chose to include the collection that this also comes from. Now there is also an option here for the default cost. Now this is useful for standardized items, maybe like a plain white panel or a standard PVC door. You can either set the price here or you might choose to continue adding items as you need to. So I'm going to click on add another product and I'm just going to add in one more product in here. And today I'm going to choose not to include my default cost. I'm just going to put my product lines in and then at the bottom corner I'm going to click on add. And now you'll see that that is added to my list. Just at the bottom here I've got my 2 new products. So now that we have our supplier product list, let's look at how this helps in practice. So for this, I'm going to head into a contract. And I'm going to be heading into my purchase order tab. Now, just before we dive into there, I wanted to take this opportunity to mention that if you do place your orders through different avenues, whether that's via email, supplier portals, or on order forms, that's absolutely fine. This system isn't here to add extra work. It's to help you keep a clear record of your costs and your delivery statuses. And this in turn is going to improve your reporting and even your scheduling. So now let's move on to the next step, which is going to be placing your orders. So when you first access your POs tab, if like me, you have already created a provisional order at your contract creation stage, then you can simply click on the plus icon at the end here. When creating this provisional order, it will allow you to select a supplier and even a provisional PO net value in here as well. So I'm going to click on the plus and you'll see here that because I'd already pre-selected my supplier, it has populated in my supplier field. So now let's move on to the other fields that we need to fill out. Starting with supplier reference. So this is the reference that you're going to provide to your supplier. Now many here choose to include maybe the customer surname, but do keep in mind that the system is also going to generate a PO number here. So you might want to include that too. An alternative thing here as well might be that if you're ordering through a portal or a particular cloud-based system, it might even provide you with a job number of your own. So that is also something that you can include. For this, I'm going to add that job number in, and I'm also going to add in the customer surname in addition. Then moving on to estimated delivery date. So here I just want to enter my expected delivery date. Then we have delivery location. Now you will note here that that defaults to your company head office address. This is where in your admin menu, whatever is listed under your company details will register as your head office. If I click on this drop down, then you'll see that it does provide me with some alternative locations, one of which being site. Another alternative in here might be that if you do have a separate unit where you tend to receive your deliveries, then you could add that in as an option. Another one that people do choose to have in here as well is collection. For some of those orders that don't require being delivered to you, you might choose to collect these instead. Then underneath there we have affect schedule board, and this is a simple yes or no toggle. It will however default to yes, and when we do take a look at our schedule board shortly, then you will see why this is useful. We then have the field for order contact. Now, if you plan to email your orders directly from Business Pilot, this field is going to be great to specify who that contact is, and it's going to ensure quite seamless communication between you and your supplier. Okay, and then we're going to add in some order items. A key rule here is to always input the correct quantity. Now, I know that might seem simple, but it is essential, especially if an item goes missing, because this is going to allow you to track those shortages much more efficiently. So I'm going to put in 5 today in my quantity in my order items. Now, when actually adding in my order item line, I can have two options with how I do this. I can either choose to manually type in here my order item details, or I can simply select from my supplier product list drop down that I created for this supplier. Now, this is going to save me time, and it's also going to ensure much more accuracy. So I've selected my item. Now, it is important to note here as well that I can also add any extra details on this line if I need to, such as sizes or specifications, exactly how I'd like them to appear. Now, you will note here that net value has also populated, and that was because when I created my provisional line, that is what I said this order was going to be provisionally. If I had left this at 0, or I was creating a purchase order from scratch, I can put that figure in now if I have it, or if I want to do it as an estimate. Okay, and once I've done that, I'm going to click on the plus icon here. I then have the option to either add another item line for this supplier, and I can maybe select a different product if I need to. Or if I'm done here, then I can simply click on Add Order in the bottom right corner. Now, one thing I would like to note here is when you're deciding to use this ordering area, you will have to create a PO for each of those suppliers that relates to this contract. So you'll see here that I might have different items on here that relate to windows, sealed units, composite doors, and maybe even a bifold as well. Coming from 4 separate suppliers, so I've raised 4 separate purchase orders in here as well. So now that we've created our order, let's look at how to send it. At this point, you can either log the order based on a portal entry, or you might even be looking to send it directly to your supplier by email. So the PO that we just generated is going to also create a PO document template in here. You'll be able to view this just by clicking on either download in Word or download in PDF. I'd just like to show everyone a copy of that. And you'll see here it takes a lot of that key information, including the supplier address and the delivery address required. And then you have also got the order details just a little bit further down here. Now, it is important to remember you can also customize this template just so it can include all the relevant details that you need as well. Now, if I was choosing to email this purchase order, then I would click on my email icon. And if we scroll to the bottom here, we'll see that that purchase order template we just looked at has attached automatically. But it might be worth noting here, you can also add any additional documents as well. Now, this might be something along the lines of a glass list, a completed order form, or even a copy of that original survey that might need sending over along with it. Now, I've selected the document I'd like to upload, and I'm just going to click on Attach Documents. And I've got both of those attachments now, and I'm able to send those over to my supplier. Now, one other thing to note when we are choosing to email outside of the system as well is when you are opening up the draft email, this will only include for the supplier's email address. Now, the reason this is helpful is because it will not pull through the customer's email. So this is going to eliminate the risk of accidentally sending order details over to your customer. This flexibility is just going to ensure that the supplier gets all of the necessary information and it's all in one place. So it's going to reduce a lot of that back and forth communication as well. Now, just to know, I have got an email template for my purchase order as well, and that includes my purchase order number, who my contact was that I included, and it's even pulled through my provisional net value to them and my expected delivery date in there as well. Now, when I click on send email, I will all be able to see this in my activity tab and then under my emails in this area as well, and it's got my orders in there as well. So far we've covered adding in a supplier product list, creating a purchase order, and actioning a purchase order. So I wanted to talk about how to monitor and update them next. So firstly, I wanted to show you that our current order status on these purchase orders is set to provisional, meaning that we're waiting for order confirmations from our suppliers. Now, once these are confirmed, we're going to update that status accordingly. But before we go through how to do that and how to mark an order in as confirmed, I wanted to take a quick look at the schedule board to show you how useful this information is for tracking. So I'm going to head into my schedule board now. Okay, so when this job card appears on the schedule board, you can visibly track these orders from here, and that is going to make for great communication tool between departments. So I wanted to draw your attention to this job card, and this is relating to those purchase orders that we just placed. Now, when taking a look at this card, you will notice that it has one dot at the top. Now, what this tells me is that my purchase orders have been placed, but it is still at provisional order stage. Now, another way for me to find that information would also be to double click into that job card, and I can access my purchase orders tab from here. I can then get further clarification that it's at provisional because I can see down the side here that all of these dates have EST next to them, meaning estimated dates. Okay, so from here, I would like to demonstrate how we could mark an order as confirmed. So to do that, I'm firstly going to head into the contract. And from there, I'm going to head into my purchase order tab once again. I'm going to locate the record that I would like to update, and I'm going to click on the pencil icon. Now from here, I'm going to head over to this side labelled confirmation. Now in here, I'm going to update the confirmed delivery date. And just underneath that, I'm also going to confirm my PO value. Now, if that cost is going to differ maybe from my initial quotation or my initial prediction, then I can update this by clicking on override. If I then choose to increase this cost, if it maybe comes back slightly more expensive than I first anticipated, I can put that into my PO net value. Now from here at the very bottom, I'm going to click on update order. Now just to show you, the system is going to notify you if that cost is higher or lower than your first set tolerance. Now if you need this, you can simply override this just by clicking on yes, and you will confirm that order. And you now see I had gone ahead and marked the others in as confirmed, so I now have a list of all of my confirmed orders. Now, a little pro tip here from me, you can set different tolerance levels for individual users. So when raising those POs, you can give each user a level of those tolerances and figures. So this is particularly useful, especially when you're tracking remake POs. And if you have someone on the aftercare team responsible for this, it just means that you won't be able to raise POs over that certain amount or will require that authorization. So now that that status is changed to confirmed, I want to go and head back into my schedule board just so I can show you all that the job card is going to display 2 dots now, and that's going to indicate that all of our orders are confirmed. So let's head into there. Okay, and you'll see on our previous job card that we had, it's now got the 2 dots against that particular contract and on that job card. Once again, if I want to click into it and go into my purchase orders tab, I would again be able to see that I've got all of those dates and they have got the conf next to them as well. Now again, just a bit of a side note here that the dot system and the way that works, it will only update when all of those POs are, for example, confirmed. So if even one order remains at provisional, that job card is only going to update to 2 dots when all of my orders are fully there and confirmed. So now that we've covered placing and confirming your orders, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about managing those orders. So to do that, I'm going to take you into our main menu and I'm going to head down to my orders section. So you'll see in the drop down list here, I've got my live POs and this is my currently active purchase orders, anything including my provisional or confirmed. My all POs will give me a full history and this will include even my completed orders in here as well. I've then got my deliveries area and this will give me a breakdown of any items that I'm still awaiting to receive. I've then got my unassigned provisional suppliers. And what this is a list of is any of those provisional orders that we put into our contracts at contract creation stage or even after that from within our purchase order tab, and they haven't yet been actioned. This is a really great resource to track any of those outstanding orders I'm still yet to place. I then have my credit on return POs, and this is any of those orders relating on items that you're managing for the return. Now, for a second, I want to focus on our live POs. I'm going to click into there. Now, this is where you'll be able to track all of those current orders from within the system at the moment. Now, one thing that's going to help you stay on top of a lot of the dates in here is all of the fields that we have available. So what I mean by that is this view that you're first greeted with when you come in here, it's always a good feature to note that we do also have the option to customize this view that you're working in. So for example, if I maybe want to change my column placement, I can simply drag and drop my columns to where would suit me better in terms of creating that view for myself. Now, when I change that view, I also have the option to save it by clicking on the save button here. I can also then give it a name. And then when I click on save, when I then re-enter my live purchase order area in the future, I will have that option as a drop down here in my selector view. I'll be able to select that option moving forward. Now, this also does apply to a few areas in our system, so it won't just be in the POs area. So that is always helpful to know from without the system as well. So now let's move on to tracking our deliveries. So with your deliveries, you can either update these deliveries directly within the contract, or you might choose to use the delivery section. Now, the key difference between your live POs and your deliveries is going to be that your purchase orders show your orders as a whole, whereas deliveries are going to break these down by line item. Something to note here as soon as we first come in, that any of your overdue orders will be highlighted in red. Now, these are going to make them much easier to spot, and that means you can instantly take action when you do see any of these. Now, let's move on to marking our order in as delivered. So firstly, I need to locate my order. Now, this is just something that I'd like to note, that you can also filter any of these columns. Now, I'm fortunate that I'm dealing with a smaller list of orders, whereas obviously when you've got quite an overwhelming amount, this is going to be a helpful tip for you. So to filter any particular column, I just have to click on my three dots, go down to my filter, and then under my contains box, I could simply type in something such as the contract number. That will provide me a bit more of a consolidated list. So from here, I'm going to find the order that I wish to update and click on the pencil icon. Then I'm going to go into my deliveries tab at the top here. Now from there, I'm going to input the quantity that I received. Then I can add things in here such as the storage location. Now, as well as that, I can also mark in here any outstanding items. To do this, I can simply say, for example, I received less quantity. I might be missing one frame. Therefore, I can just input here that I only received 4 of my 5 items. In the event that I do that, I also then have the option to add in a new expected delivery date and the reason that it was incomplete to begin with. All of this is going to make things much more useful when it comes to tracking any of those remake frames that are required that might have arrived damaged or potentially mismeasured. So when I've input all of those details, I can click on Update. It will then move out of my deliveries area and go into my live POs, but it'll be under my delivered. So to save us some time, I just went and marked those other orders in as delivered. So I thought, let's check that schedule board one last time. Now what we'll see is a solid line, and that confirms that all of our items have been received. That means we can now get ready for our installation. Now, before we wrap up, I wanted to quickly cover how we're going to log our supplier invoices. One of the biggest benefits to inputting our invoice data into Business Pilot is that it allows us to track our costs much more accurately. So I'm going to head into my contract. Now from here, I am going to head back into my purchase order tab once again, and I'm going to find the purchase order that I wish to log this invoice against. From within here, I can head along the top here to my invoice tab. Now from here, I'm going to click on my add invoice, and you'll see here that I can put in any of my details that I need to log that invoice. So I can put in my invoice reference, any details required, and I can then select my nominal code, and then I can put in my net value in there as well. Okay, and when I've done that, I can simply click on add invoice. Now, one thing to note here, that if this did come back at a higher price than I initially anticipated at confirmation stage, this would feed into the system by going into my invoice queries section. This can then be actioned by someone on your financial team. Now, another reason why tracking that more, the invoices in here, those supplier invoices and those PO costs in here as well, is that it will allow you for much better financial reporting. Just for example, in here, if I head into my finance tab from within my contract, you'll see here within my job margin section, this allows me to compare any of those provisional prices versus my actual purchase order costs. Now, this is much better for helping you track those margins, and you'll be able to do so with much greater accuracy. So to end things today, I wanted to do our final recap and some of my top tips to get you going with the POs. So just to run through today, we've covered creating your supplier product list, raising your purchase orders, tracking orders via the schedule board, confirming and managing your deliveries, and then logging our supplier invoices. Now, I want to leave you today with my top tips for getting started with the PO area. My first one would be utilising the unassigned POs area. And you can add these in at contract creation stage or within that PO tab like we discussed. And this is going to allow you to keep track of some of those pending orders. So just to show you here, this is where I would be setting up a contract, and it allows me here to add in my provisional supplier with my provisional net value as well. Not only is this useful for financial purposes, but it is going to help prompt you when you need to remember to place some of those orders. Now, second to that is investing time to your setup. Setting up your supplier product list properly is going to save you a lot of time when raising those POs. So although it's a bit of time investment at the beginning, it really is going to pay off for you in the long run. Now, my third one is not to stress about too much detail. Even if you're only putting in 2 windows, that is useful information. You don't need to add every single item's full details. Simple, just the quantity and a basic description will do. There's no need for, a list of 40 sealed units with the specs and the sizes. Simply just tracking some of those more key details will really help for you in the future. Now, I hope this session has been really useful for you all in helping you understand the PO area and why it's such a powerful tool. And as always, your feedback is of great value to us. So you will receive a short feedback form via email, and I please ask that you take a minute just to fill it out, just so we can continue improving these webinars for the Business Pilot community. I can see I've already received a couple of questions, so if you do have anything you'd like to ask, then drop your comments in the comments below. And thanks all for joining again, and I'm going to get some of these questions answered.
Okay, Arwen, a lot of information in there. It's a
A lot.
big area.
It is a
It's a
really
big
big
area.
area. I could have carried on going, Lauren.
Yeah, there's a
Give
lot
me
more
half an
to
hour
it,
more.
isn't there? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I mean,
yeah,
obviously,
there
we
is.
want to keep these webinars fairly short and snappy because we know that people are short on time and maybe don't get 2 hours on a Friday for lunch, sadly. But I
And I
think
think
we
even having
will.
an introduction to the system, if you're not using it or if you've been using it, hopefully there'll be some benefit there.
Absolutely. I think there's a lot of good information in there. And I think we'll probably plan in a bit of a follow-up one for that because orders area affects so many different areas in the system, and using it right is
Yeah,
just it can really save you a lot of time,
yeah,
can't it? So
it's a huge,
all
yeah,
good.
huge resource.
Right. So hope you all enjoyed that, guys. I know it's a lot of information to take in. If you do have any questions at all, please do drop them in the comments. We've not had many through from live. Oh, Phil's on it. Phil's just chucking them through now. We'll just do the ones that come on email first, and I'll dive straight in.
Yeah,
So
no
we've got
worries.
one here. Where do I add the alternative delivery locations for collection?
Oh, okay, fine. So let me just, can you see my screen? If I just share that.
Yeah, just popped you
Yep,
back in there.
fine, thank you. Perfect. Okay, so you'll need to head into your admin menu in order to add that in. So if I just head to my admin, okay, and then just under your company and users, you'll see warehouses as an option. So if you go in there, it does give you the option to add in additional up to 4. So if you did have an alternative address for, say, like a unit where you have those deliveries, if you put them in here, then they will pull through into that list to choose from.
Brilliant. Okay, it's a nice straightforward one.
Yeah.
Right, next one. Where can I specify it's a remake PO?
Okay, so again, when we were saying about the system being so large, I could have included this one, but yeah, I was hoping someone would ask this question. So when you do first put in a purchase order, I'm just going to head into a contract just so I can show you visually. So when you're first putting that purchase order in and we're first creating one, you'll see over to the right hand side, you have got a couple of toggles in here. You've got one for your remake and recharge. If that's toggled over to yes, then you can specify a route for the issue as well. So potentially for those ones that maybe get, marked badly on delivery, or potentially maybe something that happened at installation, you can add to any of these reasons for the root of the issue. And then you can put the reason in there for the remake as well. So you've got the reason for remake and the root of the issue. Just while we are in here, I wanted to touch as well that because we touched on credit on return, that is also a toggle in here. If that one is toggled to yes, you can also specify that's the credit on return one, and you can update it when the credit's received as well.
Okay, brilliant.
Do you mind if I just say one last thing about the remakes as well?
Yeah.
Just because we talked about this in the live POs and changing the views that are in there as well. Another benefit when you're tracking some of those remakes as well, if I wanted to add in a column in here just to show any of my remake information, I can specify remake, my remake root of issue, and the reason for the remake within my live POs as well. So that could be another one of those alternative views that you could create to track that as well.
Okay, great stuff. Cool. One more on the email that we've had through. If I don't need to wait for the delivery date, can I just mark it as delivered straight away?
You can. So similar story. I'm just going to take you back into purchase order. Okay, so when you're first creating that purchase order and you're putting in all of the details that we went over, there is a toggle as well to the right-hand side that says confirm and mark as delivered. Now, I will say for obviously any of these ones that you do have to track the dates and the confirmation dates and bits like that, I would definitely follow the process as per what we talked about earlier. But for any of those ones that you maybe don't have those long lead times on, and it might be something you grab on the way to site, then you obviously do want to track it in the contract, but you have got the option to confirm it and mark it as delivered straight away. So it doesn't go through that 3-step process that the others will.
Yeah. Great stuff. Okay, and then we've just had one through from Phil on YouTube. Thanks, Phil. He's asking, can we copy products from one supplier to another? So this would be on the Supplier Products List.
On the product supply list. Let we go to, I mean, in theory, you could, if you've already got it, you could copy and paste it into another one, but not necessarily. I think what you're asking is, I can say I get these products from each supplier. It would have to be going input individually, as it stands at the moment. You could just copy and paste the text that you've written, but you would obviously still have to go in and create that.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe that's when we can add to the ideas board.
Yeah, certainly, because it wouldn't be a bad idea, because when we all buy from multiple suppliers as well, sometimes you might obviously have a bit of a variation in there. So yeah, it wouldn't be, that's some good ideas there.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for that, Phil. We'll let you know if and when that gets sorted. Right, okay, that's it for questions by the look of it. No last minute ones come through. So we're all good. We're all good. So yeah, thank you everyone for joining us again. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you think of any questions later on, please feel free to drop us an email or pop them on the comments on YouTube or Facebook. We'll keep an eye on it. So if there's any that we need to come back on those, we can come back on those later on. This has been recorded today, so it'll stay on the same link on YouTube and on Facebook, so you can watch back later if you need to. If you need to send it to anyone else in your team, please feel free to do that. We'll also send out an email probably Monday now with the link to the webpage, which is also at the bottom of your screen here. That will have this recording on. It will have the upcoming sessions on there, the information for those, and also the sign up form. So you can sign up to get email reminders if you would like to do that. That's absolutely fine. We'll be back on the 28th of February. So a week next Friday, and we'll be doing these every other Friday, at least up to Fit Show, and then we might change our routine a little bit. But you know, you've got us for February, March, and April, and we're on status progressions next time, which we know is a good one to get your teeth into.
It is.
And it links to lots of other areas as well.
I'll get prepping now.
Yes, absolutely. So it's goodbye from me, and it's goodbye from Arwen.
Yes, have a great Valentine's Day.
Yes, happy Valentine's, everyone. Have a great weekend, and we shall see you soon. Bye.
Bye.